lasagna bread. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bake In. Today we're going to be making a lasagna bread. We're using sort of a pasta dough, which is going to get really crispy on the exterior and steam on the inside, so you get really nice pasta layers layered with a really nice sausage style ragu, which is going to be really easy to make. So let's get started. Alright, so to start we're going to make the pasta-like dough. This isn't a yeasted dough, so it doesn't need to rise. We're just going to let it rest while we make the sauce, so it's pretty simple. We're going to start with 350 grams of durum wheat flour, which is semolina flour. Pour that in. And then I've got 275 grams of 00 flour, which is a fine flour that's really good for pasta making and really strong. So I'm just doing the mix of the two. Some salt to season the dough. This is about 1 teaspoon. And then 60 mils of olive oil. 270 mils of lukewarm water. We're just going to pour that all in as well. So I'm just going to start using a spoon to get it together. So it should come together quite quickly and quite easily. And semolina is the dough that you use when you're making pasta that doesn't need any eggs. And the joy of this recipe is that we don't really need any yeast, so it's not a yeasted dough, so you don't need to wait all day. And it's a pasta dough, so it's going to technically steam on the inside. You guys will see when we get to that part, and get really crispy on the outside, so you're kind of eating like pasta inside bread made with the same dough. It's quite cool. So it's come together quite easily. I'm just going to transfer it to my board here and just give it a quick knead. Oh, it's really nice and soft here. Ooh, I'm making a mess as always. And if you do need to add a little bit of flour, go ahead and use some plain flour to help you knead it. I might get some in a bit, but right now it seems to be going okay. I do love kneading dough. I love the little arm workout you get. Not a problem for me. I'm sure you could make this in a stand mixer with a dough hook, but I think it's nicer to use your hands because you actually get to feel the dough and understand the texture and what it should be. And I just feel like it's made with a little bit more love when you use your hands, you know? That's just me. It also means I don't have to work out. Alright, so the dough is looking really nice. It's coming together. There we go. So I'm just going to push my thumb in. And you can see it bounces back up a little bit. So that means I've worked enough. It's ready to just rest now. So I'm just forming it into a ball. Take it away. I've got a greased bowl here. Put it around, give it a nice coating in the oil so it doesn't dry out. And I've got a damp cloth here that I'm just going to keep it covered with as it sits because I don't want it to dry out. And we're just going to let that sit for about 30 minutes or so until we're ready to roll it. And in the meantime, we're going to make the filling, which is that really yummy sausage ragu style sauce. Yum. Alright guys, so now we're going to make the filling or the sauce layer for this lasagna pasta bread. So I'm going to do a sausage spinach sauce. You can just do a plain tomato sauce if you want. You can buy the sauce if you want. It doesn't really matter, whatever takes you fancy. I just feel like a little bit of a sausage ragu today, just because it's kind of lasagna-y. Got a pan here, or a pot. I'm going to heat it on medium. I'm going to add just a little bit of oil, not too much, because sausage does have quite a bit of fat in it, so I just want to help it get really crispy and break it apart. So I've got four sausages here that I removed from the casing, and I've just broken it up into little bits. I'm gonna put that right in. And I like to use kind of like flat spatula so I can help break it up. So I'm gonna let it brown on one side completely and then start to break it up a little bit more. Basically, I want the sausage small enough so that I can almost spread it so it's not huge chunks in the pasta, lasagna, bread. It's a mouthful, but it's gonna be delicious. If you don't have sausage, you could use ground beef, ground pork, lamb, anything that takes you fancy. If you're vegetarian, you can completely omit the sausage. You could use mushrooms, lentils, I mean anything that really takes your fancy, but have fun with it, keep it simple. It's always delicious. I love sausage. I love the smell of it when it's cooking with all the fennel and the spices. Really delicious. And what's nice about sausage is that it is already seasoned, so I don't need to add too much to it. I'm just gonna add some of my favorites. Cool, so the sausage has been broken down quite a bit. It's released a lot of its fat. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add some of my aromatics. So I've got 4 cloves of garlic that I've minced, 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano, and 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes for a little bit of heat. And just give this a mix through. It smells so good in here. Woo. The reason I'm adding the garlic after the sausage is because I don't want it to burn, and it'll kind of start to steam and cook in the fat of the sausage rather than just on its own at a bit of a higher heat. And you never want burnt garlic because it can be quite bitter. Well, it is quite bitter. I wish this had smell-o-vision so you guys could smell this. It's amazing right now. Very cool. And to this, I'm gonna add 2 400-gram cans of crushed tomatoes. Just be careful, you don't want it to splatter around, so I like to mix one in before I add the next. And don't wear a white shirt while you're doing this, please. Last thing you need is tomato stains on your nice white shirts. There we go. So this is a lot of sauce. It might be a bit more than I need, but I'm gonna reduce it quite a bit as well. So there we go. And I'm not gonna season it with any salt just yet or pepper, because if I salt it now and then it reduces, it's gonna be way too salty. Be wary of that. Don't salt it yet. Don't get ahead of yourself. You can always add salt. You can't take it away. Don't remember. Don't forget that. Don't remember. Don't forget. Cool, so I'm just gonna let this guy simmer away. I'm gonna put a lid on partially and just let him bubble away. Bubbly, bubbly. All right, guys, so it smells amazing here. This has been cooking down quite a bit. I'm just gonna give it a quick stir. You can see it's thickened quite nicely here, but I still want to reduce a little bit more. But before I let it do that, I'm actually gonna add some spinach, which is also gonna release some water as well. And this is 90 grams of baby spinach that I've just chopped into smaller pieces. Give this a stir, just adding a bit more nutritious value to this dish, I guess. A bit of color, and I love spinach in my pasta sauces, so why not? You know when you get like a big thing of spinach and it turns out to be like this much? I don't want it to be too spinachy, but just a little bit. Looking good. Make sure you're scraping the edges of your pan. I'm just gonna keep cooking this for about another 10 minutes or so just to let it continue reducing, and then we're going to season it with salt and pepper, and when I taste it, maybe a little bit of sugar depending on how sweet these tomatoes in the can were. So until then, back to reducing. See ya. All right guys, so the sauce has been simmering away really well. It's nice and thick. You can see when I run my spoon through it, or my spatula, that there's no water that really comes down, so that means it has thickened quite a bit, and I've cooked out most of that water that I didn't want. So I'm just gonna give it a taste. Nice. Definitely need some salt and some pepper, a few cracks. I love lots of pepper, so more than just a few. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of sugar. Sometimes the tomatoes, you just need to balance out that acidity. Perfect, and give that a stir. That's the sauce done. So I'm just gonna set this aside and let it cool completely, because I don't want the sauce to be hot when I put it on the dough. All right guys, so now it's time to roll out the dough. It's been resting for quite a while now, and it is looking great. What I'm gonna do is I need to roll this out really thin on this surface. It's gonna be about like 3 by 2 feet, quite thin, about a 1/16 of an inch, so quite thin. So we're gonna need a bit of flour for the surface. So first off, I'm gonna do that. There we go. So I've got flour all over my board. I'm gonna take out this dough. Look how soft that is. So it's gonna be so easy to work with because it's been sitting for quite a while. I'm just gonna make sure it's coated in flour because I don't want it to stick to my board. And I'm gonna use a rolling pin, just coat it with flour as well so it doesn't stick. And I'm just gonna press it to start with the rolling pin to help it get into shape. Okay, I see my voice. So this is gonna help it get into a bit of a rectangular shape. And then I'm gonna roll out the corners. And whichever way you can get it to that rectangle shape. Do what you need to do, guys. I'm using like all my weight right now to get this out. So we want it basically as thin as a pasta dough is, and I want to keep moving it around to make sure it's not sticking to the surface like that, right? So the last thing you want is sticky dough. Getting there, not really, still have a lot to do. And I'm sure many of you are asking, can I use a pasta machine to do this? No, because it's really big. We don't want strips like lasagna style. We want a really big piece of dough here. So get your arms in, do like the nonnas would do in Italy, and get your muscles. Use your muscles. You can see my legs, I'm like lunging in the kitchen to get right to the bottom of it. So if I hadn't rested this dough and I just started kneading it again, I'd be working the glutens again so they get really tight and just kind of strengthened again, and they wouldn't be relaxed and loose and allow me to roll them out. So that's why we gotta let it rest. So add some flour. God, just when I thought I was doing well, covered myself in flour. I think pasta dough is so amazing on how just a few ingredients turn into something we all love so much. It's quite simple to make, and seeing this now, very versatile. I think I'm doing a pretty good job, guys. I don't think I've ever rolled a dough out this big before. It's huge. I really want to lift it up, but I'm scared I'm gonna make a hole in it. Whoa. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly measure this out, see how well I've done. 2 feet by 2. I think I need to go even thinner. I need to go longer. All right, you guys, I think this is good. It's quite thin. Cool, it's not sticking. We are good to go, my friends. Let's start building this bad boy, eh? All right, guys, so let's build this. So I've got the sauce that we made earlier, which is that sausage ragu. I just transferred it to a bowl so it would cool a bit quicker. I'm gonna put that right in the middle. Nice big rectangle of it. Oh, this is gonna be so tasty. I love Italians. I love Italian food, everything about it. It's just so good. So this is only one layer. We're gonna make, I think, 4 or 5 layers of this. So some people take the easy route and they just spread it all over and then roll it up. But we're gonna kind of go with the semi-traditional fold, I guess. Through all my research, might as well. And then we're using 2 different types of cheese. So I've got some pecorino here that I've just sliced quite thinly or shaved using just a peeler. So I'm just gonna scatter this around, rip it up. And the other cheese we're using is some provolone. So I'm just going to also rip this up. You can use, I guess, any cheese you want. If you want to use mozzarella, because that's what you have, fine. I don't have the traditional cheese that they use. It is a little bit harder to find. So this is a good replacement. And be careful because your pecorino can be very salty. I tasted it ahead, it's nice and creamy. And then we're going to just scatter some fresh basil leaves around it as well. You can see how colorful this is already. Italians just really know how to do it. With all the flavors and the herbs and oh, yum. And you want to use fresh basil, not dried for this, because you want that flavor to really impart as it steams and cooks. Great, so that's one layer of stuff. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna fold over one side completely, just like that. Just press it gently, go, and then I'm gonna fold over the other side, just like that. Cool, so then on the right side, my right, I'm gonna put more sauce and do the same layering again. All right, so let's spread. Again, this is why I did it, the sausage quite small pieces, because I wanted to be able to spread it like this. And the reason you also reduce the sauce because you don't want a wet, sloppy sauce. You want it to stick to the pasta dough, and then when it cooks, it'll release some steam as well. And then again, with some more cheese and basil again. And I'm just gently tearing the basil with my hands, not using a knife because why dirty a knife? Might as well just use my hands when I've got them. The aromatics are beautiful. God, I love basil. I love basil. One of my most favorite herbs around. Next to cilantro. Yeah, I said it. And then now, I'm gonna fold this half right on top, okay? Delicately, just like that. Now I'm gonna pinch the edge as much as I can and seal it. And now the goal is for this to fit in this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it in half again on top of itself like this. Amazing. Pinch that to seal it up. Just don't want to move it around too much here. I'm just gonna gently just try and flip him so I can lift him and place him in. And yes, you can squish him in if you need to. Go for it. It's all good. And there we go. It's in. So I've been preheating the oven to 250 degrees, 225, as hot as the oven goes really. We're gonna bake it for about an hour so it gets really crispy, really nice and golden brown, and the steams are really gonna cook the pasta in between, get nice layers of pasta, and it's just gonna be so delicious. So let's get this guy in the oven. Where did that accent come from? Looks amazing. It's beautiful. All right guys, the moment of truth. So it's out of the oven. I've let it cool for about 10 minutes before I sliced into it. Can you guys see all these layers? So it's really crispy on the outside, even underneath. But then there's really nice layers inside, which are like pasta. So it's a bit like a lasagna inside, which is why we're calling it lasagna bread. And it's got that ragu and it's heavy, it's nice. It smells amazing. So I've just got a slice here. I'm gonna give it a try. Ooh, a little bit of everything. Delicious. So tasty. You really do feel like you're eating lasagna because of the layers. They've steamed up really nicely with the sauce, so they've infused with the sauce, cooked with the sauce, which is delicious. You get the basil, a little bit of chili, and then the crispy crust. Delicious. It is the perfect meal. You can have it as a meal, as a snack, tea, I don't know, whatever you want, just make it. Put whatever sauce you want in it, whatever fillings you want in it, make sure they're not too wet, and it will be delicious and a crowd pleaser. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bake In. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you want today's recipe, it's in the comments below. So see you guys next week. Oh my god, this is so good. I'm just gonna use my hands.